Our second kickoff. We know people are still coming in, um, but I am so excited, and you should be able to. Once again, we have our event chat on Discord. We have our chat here that's in here, and then we have our Q&A session also. And so we're gonna kind of get going here because there is so much content. And literally, I was telling Michelle this. She was when we were thinking about this harebrained idea of doing this and who's going to inspire you and who's the right person to talk about career and the way the world is going. It is Michelle, and I'm going to explain why in a few minutes. But the bigger thing also is in here is many of you have also asked like, hey, about this new world of YouTube, new media, influencer, all this stuff. And so the person that actually taught me a bunch about this in a sort of weird event that I was at is Michelle. And I got to see her stuff. So she is amazing. We've shared her videos with you. If you haven't, trust me, you have to watch them. It is like I've been binge like I thought I had seen a bunch of them, and then I started binge watching more, and I was like, "There's more." And so it's so cool. So let me just give you a little bit of background as we get into this, and we want you to ask your questions in here and have the commentary because I want you guys to be able to get this. This is while I'm moderating, it's just because Zoom can't handle as many of these things as possible. And guess what, guys? Also, Zoom is now an official sponsor of Hack Your Summer. And so they're giving us a whole tons of licenses and Zoom rooms and everything that we're going to be setting up to support you all and make collaboration even easier. Along with O'Reilly, you get access to their entire learning platform, and we got more in the works for you. It's all just going to go through paperwork and everything. But to get you to this one is, I thought I had a wild career, and then I met Michelle. Very honestly, like I think about all the things that I've done, and then just this year, she has run 7 marathons on 7 continents in 7 days, which is, and in addition, it was last year you ran a marathon, an ultrathon in the 90 plus degree heat, 100 plus degree heat, if I remember right. And so she has run a lot more than I ever have cumulatively. So she's way up on me. She's hung off the side of a giant plane taking off, done by only one other person in humanity, who you might have heard of, Tom Cruise, and was featured in a movie. She has defended a murder trial. She has a black belt, and she is actually working to go to nationals. I don't know if there's an update on nationals yet, but she has a black belt, and in the short period of time. And so she has literally crafted her own career. She has over 5 million followers for her YouTube channel, Challenge Accepted. She graduated from Dartmouth, did multiple internships that were key to helping her figure out her path, both positive, some not so positive, and we're going to get into like how an internship helps you and helps you understand who you really want to be. And because that is like all those things and much, much more, which you're going to get into is why give me a warm welcome for Michelle. Like you guys get your emojis out there, all the other things across all the different panels, all that stuff. So Michelle, thank you for being here. This is awesome. Uh, I want to start with the biggest thing that I think of is like nonlinear, nonlinear career. And something which I love about you is you literally created your own career. Like there wasn't like a path, there wasn't a thing of this. And when, especially when a time when people were like, you're doing what on what platform? That's not a thing. And so I'm wondering if you could just give us a like help us understand this nonlinear journey from college onwards because this is wild.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you everyone so much for the warm welcome and for having me. I think this program is so cool and so exciting. Amazing work by DJ and your team. Um, so I guess a little bit of background on me. I feel like a lot of people who are here are high achievers, which is so cool and so exciting that you're spending your summer doing this and looking to better yourself. Growing up, I was a person who loved to try many things. So I did competitive science fair, but then I also enjoyed performing arts. And ultimately, when I was doing internships, I sort of did the same thing where I interned at a movie studio here in Los Angeles, but I also did an internship at Google, and getting to see all of these different worlds. And so I think, we all know the phrase, a jack of all trades is a master of none. But what many people don't realize is that the full phrase is a jack of all trades is a master of none, but oftentimes better than a master of one. And I think that the journey in and of itself has been me not wanting to commit to one thing and just learn everything and weasel my way into finding a way to develop a company, a show, and a career surrounding that. But that interdisciplinariness has been what has honestly been the most helpful to me throughout everything. So when I started producing and making internet videos for a different YouTube channel that I worked for before having my own, um, I was the only person at the company in my internship class who didn't go to film school or have experience actually technically making films in that type of way. But because of the other experience I had, I knew how to write a great email, how to use Google spreadsheets, how to be organized. And that is exactly what the job of a producer is on a film set. And so I found that that interdisciplinary understanding of how many things work actually helped me move forward when I may not have had all of the technical skills specifically in the beginning.
Hmm. Well, talk to us a little bit about the moment you realized that this is a thing and this is a thing to bet on. Because I think a lot of people are in this thing of like, I should go to med school. I should go be a computer science. I should get a job at Google. And in that moment, like you are the definition of entrepreneur and taking control of your destiny. Uh, what was it that helped you see that this is a new path and that this could be something big?
I am a person who has always felt most comfortable in predefined paths. So, yes, the go to Silicon Valley, do the tech internship, get the job offer, or, you know, go to science fair, do all of that, do pre-med, go to medical school. Those were all tracks that felt way safer to me than any of this. But the turning point for me was actually a moment of rejection. So I did the Google internship. And at the end of the summer, there's this big day where all of the interns get phone calls to find out if you get the job. I did not get the job. And I think that that has been such a point of blessing, easy to say now, of course, but it really forced me to look inward at what I actually wanted to do. And what I deep down really wanted to do was tell stories for audiences and tell stories that would hopefully inspire other young women to do big, bold, and strong and powerful things with their life. And what excited me specifically about YouTube was there was no waiting required. If YouTube didn't exist, pre-YouTube, the path for telling stories en masse was work as someone's assistant in Hollywood. Well, first of all, take a risk by moving to Los Angeles. Hope you get a job, hope you get support, hope you someone from above sees you and gives you a chance, pitch your idea, hope it becomes a pilot, and then hope it gets turned into a full season. And I noticed that all of the steps of that process required hope and required someone else opening a door for you. The only barrier to entry on YouTube is the upload button. And what I love about those early days of storytelling on YouTube for me was I was honing my craft and my voice as a storyteller by doing instead of watching. And so I always think like at this stage when you are doing internships, anything that you can be participatory in rather than observatory in is so important and crucial. And that's actually how you develop those skills. And in fact, I don't know how I would have walked into a pitch room and pitched a TV show if I hadn't actually had been through that process myself on YouTube, if that makes sense. And so I just went straight to YouTube because I didn't have any special connections in the industry or mass resources or family a part of this world or anything. Um, and I love it because, like you mentioned, what most people don't realize is when you upload a video on YouTube, the second you start making money off of that, you have become a company of one and an entrepreneur. And you are thinking about everything from not just the physical production, ideation, making the content, uploading it, but also the ecosystem of cash flow, finances, and building a brand around it, the marketing, ancillary merch. We have a fitness app, brand deals, consulting. So I saw a lot of opportunity for entrepreneurship there, but it was out of necessity for me. I think that if I had had an easier path, if I had gotten that job, I would have stayed comfortable. And in the spirit of challenge accepted, I had to get uncomfortable to grow.
So how, you're in this moment, you're not coming from privilege. You've been rejected from Google, which is kind of like where you're like, oh, all the cool kids are going.
Yeah, all the cool kids are going.
It's like, and actually Joanne just posted that she said, I interned at Google, didn't get a return offer either when I was an undergrad. This makes me feel a little bit better. Like this is, I think, if there's a common theme of rejection being the best blessing in life, like it certainly was for me for undergrad, not getting into any college. The thing I wonder is, how did you decide like that storytelling was your thing? Because you were a cyclist, you were an incredible athlete, you kind of could have gone to like continue the pro route, you could have done like you had like a whole swath of things. How did you iterate into figuring out like this is the thing?
What I saw at that time on YouTube was back then on YouTube, it's so strange to say back then. Back then on YouTube, there was definitely a meta of if you grew enough, you could not only sustain a lifestyle, but financially support a company. And
Mhm.
that was what was really interesting to me specifically. Again, having no connections in traditional Hollywood, my thought was, okay, if I can figure this out, if I can grow, if I try my hardest, there is a path here for stability. There's a path here for growth. There's a path here for something bigger than I can already conceive. And most of all, I was able to know from the beginning that I would 100% own all of the IP of what I created.
So you knew this, you understood this at that point of IP and all this stuff.
For sure. Yes, of course. And I think that I had gotten a window into it, having worked in tech for a bit, as well as seen the studio side of things, where having worked at a large studio, things move very slowly. They're very gut based. Someone can feel a certain way about something, and if they're high up enough, many jobs are impacted. And so I saw a lot of instability with that, whereas with YouTube, I saw a lot of opportunity for control. I also saw an opportunity that not many people had really tried to make cinematic television, documentary television work on YouTube. At that time, it was primarily vlogging. It was like prank videos, but I was curious. Hey, there's an opening in the market here that traditional Hollywood is completely ignoring. And at that time, there was kind of this air of like, oh, YouTube, like that's for kids.
Oh,
And I was seeing there's this huge audience growing. And if I can bring a competitive advantage of high quality storytelling that fits within the Venn diagram of what performs well, that could be unique and interesting. And it's certainly a difficult path to try and thread that needle, but I saw opportunity there. And I also enjoyed the component of data, honestly. I think like some people are very left brain, some people are very right brain, but I enjoy both. I enjoy the emotional component of telling a story. And then I also love getting into the weeds of the data and figuring out how we can make something perform better. And so for me, I think this version of storytelling really blends tech and entertainment into one, rather than only focusing like in the studio system on just the entertainment or on the tech side, just the tech part of it. And it's cool now because now I actually collaborate regularly with YouTube engineers to help improve the platform and give feedback on that. So it's a really cool full
Yeah, just
circle.
recently, you and Mohan, the CEO, were sitting down where you were able to give him some very, very direct feedback.
Yeah, I mean it's really special over there, and a really like a testament to his leadership style being open to feedback, which is really cool. I and so I guess with that, like for this specific group of people, I always thought that you pick a lane, put your head down, and you stay with it. But really, what has been helpful to me is if I had only focused on, I'm going to move to LA and be a storyteller, I don't think I would have been successful. In fact, I think oftentimes the reason that we get to collaborate with large brands and get to do some of the things we do are simple things, being organized, showing up on time, um, understanding how larger corporations work. Those are all experiences that I earned by not doing YouTube. But that interdisciplinary study ultimately makes people better collaborators and also makes them better leaders. For example, I love that at the beginning of my YouTube channel, I had to do everything. I filmed it, I shot it, I
It was
edited.
you were the team. There's no
I
one
was
else.
team of one, entrepreneur one. The reason that matters is now when we have a huge team of crew of 50 people executing the plane stunt we did last year, everyone on our team is able to empathetically lead the departments around them because they've done the job. It's kind of like how you you can sense when someone hasn't worked a service job or been an assistant. Once you have done those things, you're able to have far more empathy for everyone you're leading who is now picking up those tasks. And that's something I really appreciate about our team, that all of us have done many tasks and can therefore specialize in what we're doing, but also I know what it feels like to accidentally delete all of the footage. I know what it feels like to make a mistake and have it impact the final piece. And I think that makes hopefully for a better leadership experience for our whole crew working on our story.
When you think of, let's go down that direction because it's so important. Like, like, you think about yourself at that age where you were doing internships, and there's like the like we've all done the incredible like, oh crap, what did I accidentally do? I
Oh my
deleted
God.
everything. I like there's the cringe moment where you're like the pit in your stomach just drops and you're just like, oh, I effed up everything. And and I'm wondering, like, you think about those formative moments. What's your advice to people of this generation on how to make the most of this new world of internships, like experiences like this one where it's craft your own, or you're in your first job, or other things to make sure you're maximally learning?
I would say something I wish I had realized at the beginning was I definitely doing all of these internships, even these like more intense internships at bigger companies. My goal at that time was I have to be perfect in everything I execute. And that's impossible. That's an impossible goal to reach. You'll never be perfect in anything you execute. So, in fact, the better thing to do is to be prepared and ready for ultimately when you make a mistake. And so, what I would say is if you're working an internship and you make a mistake, and everyone in the conference room is like, wait, what was this? And the pit of your stomach drops. Oh, I know that feeling. The best thing you can do is immediately take accountability and immediately take action to fix it. Nobody enjoys being a part of a group project where when we're trying to get to the bottom of a problem, the person who knows what went wrong is sheepishly in the corner. That's not good. And then by proxy, it's also bad if you create a problem and then have a pregnant pause that follows waiting for the adults in the room to figure it out. The types of people that I think I personally enjoy collaborating with and the type of person I had to become was someone who says, oh, you know what? That was my bad. But I'm happy to do this to help fix it. And even if that suggestion you have is wrong, being confident in that suggestion shows that you're a team player. And ultimately, that's the type of people that everyone wants to collaborate with.
Right. How do you decide, you have this world where you're just sort of this very dynamic flexibility around problem solving and other things. How do you decide when it's just you? Like, we've talked about like the African proverb, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And so solo versus team. How do you think about that?
Like in the context of the company
A
now?
company or trying to work on something, solve a problem, what the energy that's required to find a team versus you're just like, look, I can just do all these things myself.
I definitely agree with the African proverb that ultimately longevity requires more kinetic energy than you by yourself can create. However, I would caveat that to say, never let go of being willing to do it all yourself because things will go wrong. You will need to step in. And again, nobody likes a leader who comes in and says, wait, we need these 20 things done, but that leader doesn't actually know how to do them themselves. So learning from the bottom up is important for you for every step of your career forward. I I actually think like some of the most crucial skills that I learned were in those formative opportunities, managing crews, sending complex emails, making budget spreadsheets. I don't do that currently, but now I know how to read all of that when someone presents it to me. And I can be in the weeds and have a bird's eye view. Um, so I think it's important for you to always be able to understand every part of the process of the company or the project that you are operating, and also entrust in other people to step in and hit their mark.
Mhm. So I want to switch to like characteristics that you're looking for in people because I think that helps also when there's an early version of your career where you're trying to convince people to join you on this mission, and that's one thing. And then there's now you're a well-known brand. You're obviously trying to convince, there's always someone above you that you're trying to
Yeah.
convince, right? There's never an end to it. But then there's also you have now the ability you have to evaluate. And so can you talk to us a little bit about the early days of how you get someone to be on your team and then also what you are looking for from somebody on your team that distinguishes, and specifically what can the participants here be doing to distinguish themselves? So you would be like, out of like all the thousands of people that are out there, you'd be like, this one.
That's a great question. When it comes to hiring for Challenge Accepted and for the YouTube channel, um, the first thing that I'm looking for is an excellent understanding and proven track record in what we're doing. And that doesn't mean the biggest resume. Specifically for YouTube, if we're hiring an editor, is the edit that you turned in phenomenal? And that
So
doesn't have
portfolio
the
kind of like,
portfolio. Yes, exactly. And it doesn't have to be um they've worked for another big YouTube creator. I don't necessarily think the best talent always comes from parallel companies, but the materials they turned in, where they turned in with great care and great precision. Do they understand tone, which I think is a really big thing, specifically in artistic fields, is not just being able to turn in a great podcast. We don't make podcasts at Challenge Accepted. That's awesome you've worked on a podcast, but how do you handle documentary material? So I think being able to adapt into a new environment is important. And specifically for me, I am looking for people who have care and professionalism in every interaction. Um, that they write concise but well-crafted emails that were not written by ChatGPT. That they are putting heart into everything that they do. Um, and in doing so, Honestly, we actually have a list. Maybe it's helpful for me to go through this just to be
Yeah,
super specific.
please. Like share us.
I don't know if I can put it in the chat, but I can read it. Let me see. It's only letting me send to hosts and panelists, but
Oh,
I can read it here. So we have this thing called the keystones of great collaborators, and this is for anybody we're going to collaborate with, even if it's someone's going to come and operate a camera on set for one day, not even full-time hires. Everyone we collaborate with has to check all of these boxes. So first of all, they have to have a proven track record and legitimacy in what they're doing. They personally, we have to feel, strive for a net positive in the world. We want to be around energetically net positive people who, and that's just the ethos of challenge accepted. The next thing is this person has to want to collaborate with us too. We typically don't hire or collaborate with people who may have an incredible resume but don't want to be there. They're like, I would rather be working on a different show or a different channel um or may not understand or empathize or even respect YouTube as a platform. So the third part, really important to me, is you have to want to be there. And if you don't, I wish you all the best in finding that place for you to be. But ultimately, you've got to want to be there. Um, they have to be timely, honest, professional, kind, and respectful. There also have to be a person who we want to platform. Like if this person was front and center in the video, would we be excited to share their personal message with the world? And then the last most important thing, we talk about this all the time for Challenge Accepted, they have to pass the vibe check. And the vibe check is energetically what is the vibe we're getting from them? Again, are they a positive person? Are they excited to be there? Are they responding to emails with one sentence or like with enthusiasm? Um, Oh, I should be able to chat with everyone now. Okay,
yeah.
thank you. Okay, let me just put this in the chat. I don't know if
What you're doing that, what's so interesting to me is how similar all this is to everything that I do as well. And so how much it crosses over every place. Like people are like, well, what do you mean vibe check? And you're like, no, you can feel it. You
you
can
can.
feel it.
You can
Like,
feel it in the way people text, email, Zoom call, and you feel it every day when you're just hanging out with your friends at school. Like you know when something's off or when something's fun. And I think like vibe check can be confusing in the context of like I have to be overly outgoing or I have to have the same belief system perfectly as the person who's interviewing me. I don't think that's the case.
Mhm.
I think you genuinely should be interviewing for positions that you're excited about, that you're willing to bring your whole self to, um, and and that's something that is felt, and
Huh.
people know when you're faking it.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because like the version I do also in the company is after we all get together and we're like, what do we do? We do something like go on the count of three, we go one, two, three, and everyone has to pick like a thumbs up. Oh my gosh, I quit if you don't hire this person, to if you hire this person, I will quit. And everyone does it at the same time, so no one gets to judge and see where it is. And you sometimes get this interesting thing of, well, what is the vibe we're looking for or this? And sometimes you find like the person who was like the quiet introvert that was just the deep, long thinker, you're like, oh my gosh, like we just discovered this unique person that we didn't have on the team that you would have missed otherwise in these ways. So what you're saying super resonates with me.
Yeah. And again, I think you make a great point too. It can be the introverted person who everyone is excited. I mean, our personality type on Team Challenge Accepted is very like different. There are people who are super introverted, there are people who are super extroverted, but everyone passes that vibe check of joy to be there.
Right.
Um,
They create more than they take. Interesting. So, in their proven track record, how does someone break in these days? How do they
into
get a
YouTube
track record?
specifically, or
Well, like
can
you're
they pull
looking
a
for
platform?
somebody who has a track record. How does someone get a track record these days? Or what's your advice to people when they don't really have a track record at this early stage of their career?
So speaking specifically to jobs in the YouTube new media space, what's really wonderful is that you can start a portfolio at any point on social media. So oftentimes when people apply, that's the first thing we look at to see, again, not who are the big companies you've worked for, but what have you actually yourself created? What have you been a part of creating in the past? And I'll look at that material. And again, the material doesn't have to have millions of views. Sometimes it has none. But if you look at that and say, oh my gosh, they really went above and beyond on this VFX or this editing, or they helped produce this short film that was like extremely complex. That's exciting to me. And so I think within YouTube, there's a lot of entrepreneurialism that can occur even in the application phase, in the early part of your career.
Hmm. When you, it's so interesting because the premise of this is this program in many ways is the model of LinkedIn. It sounds a little weird that a former LinkedIn person would say this, is that it's no longer your resume, it's what you can show. It's show your work. Don't just tell us what you've done and
Yeah.
what brands and logos are there that are around you. Does that feel right to you also, or is it like is there a nuance in there of like how you see it in advice for people?
I completely agree with you, DJ, that showing your work, this this is bringing me back to math class. Show your work, how you arrived at the answer.
Sorry for the traumatic.
No, that is what I'm most interested in. And it's interesting because there are some challenging roles to fulfill where it's easy to move through the interview sounding like you know what you're talking about, but I'm always most interested in, okay, show me what you got. Like, how would you handle this situation um in an everyday situation? Um, and so that's one of the reasons why for Challenge Accepted, we always have a trial period. If someone makes it all the way through all of the interview process with us, there is always, no matter how high or low up in the company, a minimum 3-month trial period that we do with that person to make sure that both of us enjoy this. I mean, we never want to skip to marriage. We got to date for a bit too. Um, and I think that that's important for both parties to make sure that this is working.
Mm-hmm. Durga's asking, is it okay to save this list?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, there you go, Durga. We got a bunch of other questions I'm going to get to in a
Cool.
bit, but I want to talk through some of the things that part of the thing that you do, which this is, it's so amazing because you start with conceptual idea, then you build a team, you do like things that I wouldn't even know how to put a team together around. How do you learn so fast?
You mean like very technically speaking in the context of an episode of Challenge
Well,
Accepted?
like, I mean, you're just like, and now I'm going to get a black belt. And now
Mhm.
I'm going to go do this. I'm going to learn how to rock climb this insane face. I'm going to learn how to be in court. So I feel like you have somehow figured out to become the new model of hyper learner. And like there's something really special about that I appreciate about you is most people can't even get the guts to commit. You've not only committed, but you are like, I am going to have to figure this out. And so you are the epitome of jumping off the cliff before the plane exists and you are building it on the way down and you build it like so fast and so efficiently. How?
Mm. I think to succeed at anything, and this is very personal to me, but it may work for other people. For every episode of Challenge Accepted, there are three key people that have to be in place for it to work. There has to be a coach, a mentor, and a cheerleader. And I think genuinely this applies to any major goal where you're trying to achieve something in a very short amount of time. The first is, I guess I'll start with mentor. A mentor is someone who has done the thing you are trying to do. It can be someone who is a few years or even decades ahead of you in their career. They have experience. They know, they can tell you, hey, avoid this mistake that I've done. They have executed it. So I guess in the case of this Taekwondo journey, for me, those are the other students in class who are years ahead of me in their Taekwondo experience. And I'm using sports, but this can apply to a startup, this can apply to anything. Then there's the coach figure. And it's important that the coach and mentor are two different entities. A coach figure is someone who has experience teaching the thing that you want to do. And so, very cleanly in Taekwondo, that is my Taekwondo master. But in the case of when I was building my YouTube channel, the mentors for me were people who had 10,000 subscribers or 50,000 subscribers. And I could DM them on Instagram and ask them for advice, or I could just watch their career and their videos and learn from them. By contrast, the coach figure is someone who has externally helped somebody, like an athlete in this case, like move forward. So this is someone who has a different skill set because teaching a skill and having done the skill are actually two different things. Um, so that there's that. And then the third entity I look for is a cheerleader. So this for me is someone like my best friend Olivia. This is someone who has nothing to do with it has no stakes in the success or failure of a thing and will love you no matter what happens. But they can be a good accountability partner, someone you will talk to often. It can be a sister, brother, cousin, sometimes a parent who will just check in with you and say, hey, how is that project? How's that thing you're building going? And I think all three of those together, they can express themselves in different ways. Like a coach for some people here might be watching a YouTube channel where you get instruction on how to start your first company. A mentor might be someone who's graduated a few years ahead of you and already has failed or succeeded in their own startup. But then having that third party who's just going to love you no matter what, be by your side, and check in with you from time to time is important. And what I usually do in each of my challenges is structure uh, with the coach, mentor, and the cheerleader. Hey, here's this crazy thing I'm going to try to do in the next 6 months. Um, can I call you once so we can just talk to you about it? Can I shoot you a DM as I go along the way? And those entities are important to help hold you accountable and so that you can also keep going. I think that there's a false expectation when you start your first startup or project or something that I've got to lock myself in a room and just bang my head against the wall and figure it out. And then by contrast, you can look at other people and, well, they got funding, they got all this whole team around them. Gosh, I don't have that. Find something in the middle. You've got to put your head down and do the work, but also set up accountability systems for yourself, and you can take charge and ownership of that.
Hmm. Well, it resonates so much for me because like when I tell like my wife actually told me this one time, she's like, "You're a terrible networker." And this is I was just coming out of academia
What?
and she's like, "You're terrible at this." And I was like, "Really? I thought I had courage going up to people because I'm trying to get over my imposter syndrome and I don't know how to talk to people." And she's like, "But you're not coming away with an action item. You're
Mm,
not coming away with a reason to call them again and start building. No, like, I find it always a little weird if somebody says, "Will you be my mentor?" And you're like, I don't know what that means, rather than, can I follow up? Can I talk to you again? Could I get some advice? And mentorship builds. And so I'm wondering, does that like one of the questions that's come up often is like, how do I get mentors in life?
mm. Yeah, I mean, there's a cooler way to go about it, I think, than saying than the will you be my mentor of it all. And in fact, someone Rumika just asked, like, I often hear about how important networking is and finding opportunities. I find difficulty discussing these without it seeming like bragging. And I have a lot of empathy for that feeling, especially when you're in the beginning of your career and it's like, oh, what do I have to offer? Um, and I think that mentorship doesn't have to have a label. We're using this like dating to marriage analogy. You don't have to put a label on it in the beginning. And in fact, it might be reaching out to multiple people to see who you vibe with. But I don't think I've ever had like a this person is my one mentor for my whole career. I feel fortunate to have many. people at this point whom I can call for specific advice and specific things. And so I think about it more as developing relationships with people who have varied skill sets whom you feel comfortable reaching out to from time to time for advice. I also think in the early stages of mentor-mentee relationship, it's about making the asks you have very easy responses for them. It's not, it is not this. It's not, I'm going to send a 5 paragraph email of all the problems that I have. Will you help me fix them? It's, hey, I've encountered this thing. Do you know anybody I can talk to potentially, or have you come up against this problem before? It should be one question, one sentence, very simple. And the reason for that is you want to make the lift of having to respond to you at the lowest barrier to entry possible. And let that develop over time and be sparing in your usage of that, if you will. Um, but you want to make it easy for people to respond. You want to, say, hey, feel free to respond with a voice memo, whatever's easy for you, no pressure. And then have many people you ask that question of in case they don't respond.
Mhm. So I want to get to two questions that actually blend through things here, but and then I want to just go directly to this amazing set of questions that I got across all my screens here from different places.
Yes.
The first is, and you highlighted this in the 7 marathons, 7 continents, 7 days, which still sounds insane to say as a thing. I hope you still
Yeah.
feel like that's a remarkable thing because it truly is. Uh, you bring up directly in the session, I've seen the response on social media about this, where you directly say you have imposter syndrome. And I think most people would say, you have imposter syndrome. I still find it like in many rooms I go into, and we've talked about this just yesterday, and actually every day in the course so far, is how much I feel imposter syndrome. Yet in the video I saw you like look so confident talking to people. What's your advice and how do you manage your imposter syndrome and where do you find your courage from to overcome it?
Well, I think imposter syndrome comes up a lot when you are putting yourself in a new, uncharted territory for you. So if you're experiencing it, I think it's actually a good sign. It's not a great symptom, but it's a symptom that you're headed towards something exciting. And you always want to be like as painful as it is, I think we all here know you learn the most when you are in a room of people who are far beyond where you are. Um, that's how you grow the fastest. So I think in those situations, socially, personally, when I am like worried about even just, going to a taekwondo class, oh my gosh, I'm the worst person here. What do I do? The best thing you can do is bring a positive energy to it. I find often that people care less about how great you are at something and more about are you cowering into yourself at the same time?
It's a vibe.
Yeah,
You
it's
bring a
the vibe
vibe.
again versus what I've had again to going to Taekwondo, what I've learned is nobody else in the class cares how bad I am at this thing as long as I'm not I'm still bringing a positive energy to it. I'm not getting super frustrated in the corner. Like it's the same thing in a business setting of, hey, I'm here to learn. How can I help? Great to
Mhm.
meet you. Would love to hear about your world. Um, and I think just being a pleasant person, I'm sure it's been said many times here, being pleasant, being positive, being willing to fail, being willing to ask questions is so much more exciting for everybody else than pretending like you know everything.
Mhm. Yeah, you don't have to posture. You have to be curious, I find. And if
Yes.
you're
Yeah.
curious, people will engage you more rather than pushing you away.
And I've noticed that through Challenge Accepted too, is I've gotten a lot better at, okay, I'm going to go try this thing and look terrible at it. But a lot of people we collaborate with, they always say, like, of course, it was your first time and you're not going to be great at it, but you tried your best and you'll be surprised how often people say, man, oftentimes when I teach something to somebody, they never try their best or they're too embarrassed to put themselves out there. So I think that applies to everything in life that teachers, mentors, coaches are more excited to work with people who are willing to try and put themselves out there.
Well, let's talk the other side of this because you also brought this up in this one and also a number of the other videos. You've been through some really dark spots and dark places. And I think a lot of people right now, especially in society, are feeling like in a dark spot. You know, we've seen it in here where some people have been rejected for multiple jobs, people have been rejected from college. Like we're in a mode where you apply, and you know, with AI plus everything else, job corrections, all that, it's kind of tough. How have you found your method to pull yourself out of the dark hole when you're deep in there?
The best thing I can suggest for that is when you feel at a creative, personal business standstill, is just to do. And very specifically, when I speak to other people who want to create content on social media, sometimes I hear from people who have said, okay, I've spent 3 months planning my first video, and this is the script, and I have everything planned out, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, well, go do it. Go do it. And I think that with anything in life, if you're developing a new product, if you are trying something new, if you're going on an entrepreneurial journey, getting reps in, even if they're bad, I find the people that are willing to do that grow so much faster because you have to do 1,000 bad things before one thing is good. And when you're doing that, as long as you are doing a postmortem on each and learning from those failures, you're getting through those 1,000 failures faster. So that would be my suggestion to anyone feeling totally stuck is you have to do something completely different. Do something opposite, do something unheard of, do something you would never even consider trying because you need more data to gather to learn how to move forward.
I love that because people, you're going to hear this a little bit later when we have Jeff Weiner give a talk. He'll talk about something that we instituted at LinkedIn, which became seminal for when we flubbed and fell on our face, even as a company or individuals, was we'd say the words next play. We just say next play. It means you get back up and you just go. You forget the history of what's last thing because there's no point in ruminating because that puts you darker and deeper in the hole type thing. So I want to get to some of these questions because these are so good. One of these is how do you determine how to prioritize? You know, now versus later. How do you size things? You know, you're an expert at breaking complex tasks into manageable pieces, but also how do you prioritize and choose something?
Ooh, that's a great question. I like a lot of what Tim Ferriss says about task prioritization, on a simple term, if an email can be answered or if something can be done in 5 minutes or less, do it now. But I I also think that what has been helpful for us doing really big projects for Challenge Accepted, for example, we're working on a project right now where we are going to attempt to fly a house with helium balloons, like the movie
Be
Up.
up. Like,
We're going up.
do you want to borrow a dog?
We're going
I
up.
got one for you.
Oh my gosh, we're going up. And it's a really ambitious project. It's very exciting. It's hopefully going to be an incredible fundraiser for a charity that I'm really excited about. But yes, the question is, okay, how do you take this big, fantastical idea and break it down into steps that actually make sense? And something that I love about the beginning of our process for taking a big idea and making it tangible is we all get in a room. I'll take this up project, for example, and we just start throwing out, okay, if we were actually going to fly a house with helium balloons, has someone done that before? Okay, we Google it. Okay, does anybody, how different is this from a hot air balloon? Do we know anybody who has a pilot's license? Oh yeah, we shot a video with the FAA last year. Maybe we can call them. So We actually have a brainstorming process, not just for creative, but for execution. And I think that's really important to allowing breathability to big, robust ideas, to take the time and think like, if if our backs were against the wall, we had to fly a house with helium balloons, what would we do? And people throw out some crazy, wacky ideas that end up being actual paths forward. So again, I think breaking down a complex problem requires having the creative freedom to brainstorm that problem, but then creatively brainstorming how to solve it too. Um, and then from there, we develop tangible benchmarks for every week leading up to that. And that's an art in and of itself. I know it's very hard to do with a big project, but ultimately, that's where the coach, mentor, athlete comes in.
Mm.
Setting it's easy to take a big project and break it down week by week, but you've got to have an accountability person and some form of accountability for yourself that works depending on your learning style, where every single day you are stepping forward towards that.
The version that everyone here is supposed to be doing is what they call progress, struggles, plan, and they just fill it out. So you have a kind of an accountability to yourself when you're in these
That's
early days
great.
and you don't have a team
Hmm.
necessarily. What people are saying that they love your videos. We all do. You know that. What's one thing that you wish you understood when you were first building your platform that took you a while to learn as a creator?
The barrier to entry to excellence is a mountain of cringe. And I don't just
That
mean
should be on a sweatshirt. That
I don't just mean making cringe videos. It's like everything is cringe. It's in those internships, making mistakes that three people higher up than you have to confront and are questioning. It's you have to make mistakes, you have to post things, you have to um uh be less precious. Um and most of the time, those mistakes are fixable.
like,
Um
do you mean experimentation or do you mean something different?
I mean experimentation, and I also mean letting go of perfectionism. So when I started my channel, I had a rule for myself, which was very difficult for me, which was I'm posting once a week no matter what. And sometimes those videos were incredible and I was very proud of them, and sometimes they weren't. But what was surprising is some of the videos that I thought weren't that great ended up performing really well. Now, is that something I'm excited to have on my resume? Not necessarily. It's an internet video, but I learned a lot from that. And I started learning, okay, if this type of editing performs well, how can I bring it into something I'm proud of? And then craft taste from that.
Mm. Well, this gets to, and taste is a really important one here because some things that people are asking about is on one side, what's worthy of storytelling? And then the other is how does one get better at storytelling? And I think that last one is particularly important because we're all trying to figure out how to storytell about ourselves in this new era.
So on the how to get better at storytelling, this is a book that's recommended in like every storytelling or filmmaking class. It's Save the Cat. And so storytelling as a medium is actually a solved math problem. Outlined in this book, at least by Snyder's Beats. And without getting into it, you can look at any piece of high performing media. And I'm talking an incredible feature film, an episode of television, or even throwback like a 6 second Vine or 1 minute TikTok. If it performs well, 99% of the time, it hits a beginning, middle, and end where the subject is changed by the end, or you as an audience have been changed by the end. And I even mean this with like silly internet videos that you're like, oh, that's crazy. Why does that even perform well? It has a beginning, middle, and end. And so that is part of it is understanding storytelling structure. And we're going back to math class because as somebody who I'm a person, I'm in the spreadsheets. I like it when things have one singular answer. I don't like ambiguous art. Like I want to know, did I do it right or wrong? reading that and better understanding that was really helpful to me to understand. There's a misconception that storytelling is based off of feeling, and I do think feeling is a key metric of it, ironically, but there's also a science to it, and I think studying the science is helpful. Then getting better at it is actually doing it. It's doing it, it's going through that mountain of cringe. And more than anything, once you do something, getting feedback from people. And that feedback can be asking friends for feedback. It can be looking at the comments if you're posting online. It can also be, wow, nobody commented on this. This got 0 views. That's feedback too. And asking hard questions about how to improve.
Mhm. Well, for those that are in high school, or sorry, in college, what's your advice for them to make the maximum of their time and experience?
Wow. That's a great question. And I'm trying to think of all the things that people told me that just sounded annoying when I heard that. Make sure I don't say that too. Like when
We're all
people,
about the cringe
you
now,
know
so it's all
what? You know what
good.
I'm gonna say? There are some people who say, "Oh, college is the best 4 years of your life," and that's awesome for some people. But I also don't know if those are the right people to listen to because if you're doing it right, it's just the beginning, and there's so much more to look forward to.
Don't peak in
So
college.
yeah,
Don't peak
don't
in
pick
high
in
school. Don't
college.
peak in college. Don't
Don't.
peak in your first job out of college.
Yeah, don't do that. I would say commit fully to whatever you're doing. If you have an internship this summer, if you're doing this, give it 110%. Even if at the end of it you're unsure of the thing that you made, the process of that will absolutely help you at a future job or opportunity. So I think the best way to get the most out of anything is to give 110% to it, even when it's hard.
It's so well said. I think that, and just so such a good thing even for here. It can kind of seem like we have this hokey program. You're all in here. You got amazing mentors. You can phone it in, but it really is like you give 110% to something, magical things happen. And certainly been true for me where I didn't expect the thing to come out of it was the thing that happened, but it's because I put all the energy in. People were like, "Whoa, we want to take a chance on you. We want to see this go." Or it turns into something like you did. Like you literally have created a new path for people. Michelle, I want to say thank you for taking so much time, taking this hour. I know you have an incredibly crazy packed life and insanity with all the things that are on your plate. So thank you for being here and sharing time and just honestly, thanks for just being so awesome. You just do
Oh my
spectacular
gosh,
stuff
of
and just being
course, of
cool.
course. Yeah, and I wish everybody here all the best. And if you're feeling unsure or lost or confused, and I certainly was at this point, coming off of rejection, feeling like I'm being tossed out of all of these neat and simple paths I had felt so comfortable in. Um, I think sometimes the most exciting moments are when you have to move forward in a way you weren't expecting. So I wish you all the best with that blessing
Well,
and
you have
have a
an
great
army
summer.
now. You have
Huh?
1,000 potential people. Well, if you give them a project, they will go do it for you. So
Oh,
you have an army of
okay.
1,000 now.
Thank you all so much for having my back. You're so kind. Thank you guys so much.